especially being brown in the South, and it's particularly in Panama City, we're a small minority, and we did address a lot of racism like on a daily basis. And the way that we dealt with it was through comedy. So, using comedy to tell stories and to deal with the quote unquote trauma that I grew up with in the South was the best way for me to kind of dismantle what was happening in our lives, and to kind of educate myself and others through a way that really connects and relates to people. My favorite quote of all time is, "Laughter is the shortest distance between two people." And that's kind of what I live my life by, is, if we can laugh together, we can communicate, we can connect, we can create peace, and we can create understanding. My actual struggle as a Muslim woman, particularly now, is not that I'm Muslim and woman, it's that I make comedies. And comedies are not taken in, especially in the independent film world, as well as our dramas are. I still believe, especially in these larger festivals, they want to see really gritty dramas of huge struggles, or Muslim women being, stoned, or this and that. So this concept that I'm addressing political issues, social issues in this lightheartedness has been my biggest struggle as a Muslim filmmaker. This is actually what I call my legacy, and it's a part of who I am, is because I was the only one and I didn't have a mentor and I didn't have anybody I could look up to, I put it on myself to be able to mentor others and to support others. It's not just, I guess, the brown world, but it's very strong in our culture that you have to be a doctor to survive in America, or, a lawyer. And so the arts are not supported within our culture a lot. So I have a lot of things where I'm like fighting, aunties and uncles to let their kids be filmmakers. And so I got this grant in 2009 to make my thesis film from the Islamic Scholarship Fund. And they were the first grant that funds non-science majors. So they realized, like, okay, we've got enough Muslims in these areas, let's try to create arts. So I was their first film recipient, and throughout the years, they stayed with their alumni and they said, okay, man, how can we create what we can do to help Muslim filmmakers? And I was like, okay, I'm working on my film now and I need funds and there's no one to support me. We should create a film grant. So in 2014, I co-created and I'm the director of the first American Muslim film grant and the only Muslim film grant that funds and supports and mentors Muslim filmmakers. And it's really crazy because in 2014, we had like 40 applications. And now we're in our 8th year in 2021, and we have hundreds of applications. And also, more importantly, higher quality applications, mentoring, finding filmmakers. We're also working on creating different labs for filmmakers. Like, that's really the biggest part, besides being a filmmaker, of what I do, is cultivating a stronger Muslim filmmaker network in our country, and especially the identity of being American Muslims. Because constantly we are being, if you're Muslim, you're equals foreign. And that's not the case. Like, we are American, we are Muslim, and they're not mutually exclusive. When I went to FSU and I found out that having an MFA was a terminal degree and that I could teach, my goal had always been, I want to teach and then I want to make my films. It was never just one or the other. And I think it goes back to my concept of mentoring and educating others to tell stories, because I didn't have that myself. So that was something that was really big and important for me. Well, in the Islam Media Pop Culture class, I really wanted to create a way for students to learn how to tell a story that's not their own. And then also tell the historical perspective of how our country has, and it's also not just about Muslims, we talk about other minorities as well, portrayed and told stories about Muslims, right? So that we can be informed on how to tell the stories. And then another thing as I do, which does make students uncomfortable, is I have them create a PSA about Muslims, like, tell me something about Muslims. And they create this PSA and they're like, well, we don't want to be disrespectful. And I'm like, okay, well, this is what we're learning. We're trying to see what the line is and are we going to cross it or not? And also having them like meeting Muslims throughout. So they do a photo assignment and they also do a news article where they talk to Muslims and tell their stories. So they're interacting with people that they usually wouldn't interact with. And lastly, the most important thing is every week I bring in a every week or every other week, a professional from the industry. So a writer from Hollywood, a reporter from NPR, an actor in Hollywood, and they talk to them and they get their experiences on what it is to be in their craft in general and as a Muslim in that craft.